Greetings, Patrick here. Have Cheetah will view 8 questions with. It's Tuesday. Time to get things going. It's our first show of the week, and we will be talking to our good friend Mr. Flixter. He's a new YouTuber, new to our community. He's also a film journalist, a film critic, and we will be talking to him about the status of movies, how he became a journalist, who's he write for, his favorite horror films, what does he look for in a movie when he critiques it, all sorts of good stuff. Because everything, no journalist ever writes the same. Well, unless you're plagiarizing somebody, right? But overall, no journalist writes the same. So that's really cool. This will be our third journalist that we've talked to. We talked to Bobby, and then we talked to our good friend, Brian. So as far they're both professional journalists. So and here's our good friend Al Licard, also known as the Bat. All right, I've been watching. I was watching that Bat before. Before it came on. That movie is awesome. That movie is awesome. It had me in tears. Um, we're gonna have so much fun covering that this Sunday on the Midnight Society. We're covering the Bat from 1959, and we're also covering the giant Gila monster from 1959. Hi, Katie. How are you? I really like the picture you sent to me. Um, of course, also this is also Tuesday, so as soon as we're done here, we all need to dash over to Al's channel and see what he's got up his wing for us. Uh, the Battle of 1959. You know what? I think we both are winners for that one. We both win. Uh, I mean, you got well. You might got. I think you got me on the cast. I think your cast is definitely going to be better than mine. But come on, a giant Gila monster, an early kaiju. Well, I don't know. It's going to be pretty tight. Oh, no show for you tonight. What? Oh, oh no. Um, yeah, that was a great picture. No show tonight, Al. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, there's Ricky. What's going on, Ricky? Are you still celebrating your title? I don't know. I don't think Vaz and Garrett know how to sit there and say surrender. Yep. I think. I. When are we supposed to go do that, Al? I think we're supposed to. I think we're supposed to go back to the UK and go at it. I don't know how. I don't know what we're doing. I don't even know what the topic we're covering is. What? They want another rematch? You know what, Ricky? Tell them to make it a 2-on-2, and I'll tag myself in it, and you and me can take them on. End of the month. I don't. Are we what's our topic? It better not be bats. The 29th. Okay. It's not bats, is it? I hope it's not. That will be fun. I'm gonna be. I think we're gonna have to. Let's see. Yeah, I think so too. Why not? Our 20 against your 20. Oh, non-franchise ghost movies. Wow. All right. Yeah, that's gonna be good. That'll actually be pretty good. Oh yeah. I think I yep, that'll be fun. The good thing about I know about with Al, he's gonna come up with some really good ones too. Hey David, how are you, sir? All right, let's put our hands together and welcome in our guest tonight, who pinch hit for me at the last minute. So I'm very grateful for him. Let's give it up to our friend Chris. I'm going to let him pronounce his last name since I don't know how to do it, and I don't want to ruin his name. So here we go. Ta-da.
Hello, world.
That's right. Now, did you say hello world? Did you do spirit fingers?
Oh, hello.
Hey,
You're
yep, there
frozen.
you are. Did you do spirit fingers when you came on? Oh, that's not spear fingers. These are spear fingers.
Hell yeah.
All right. Let's see if everybody in the chat remembers what movie that is. I bet.
Ooh, good question. Good question. Not a horror movie, but good question.
Yeah. Let's see if anybody remembers that line. That movie has a ton of lines in it.
That movie's so quotable. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I
I
was in
love.
high school when that came out, and I love it ever since.
I love that movie. That movie's so badass. It
Oh, yeah,
really
for
is.
sure. And just so everyone knows, my last name is Majtenyi. Like my tennis shoe has come untied.
Oh, my daddy shoe is coming. Ricky is already connected with you today. That's awesome. That's awesome. Let me drop your link down just in case anybody else hasn't done that, which I know they've already have.
I just want to warn people though. I put in a new friend request today and yesterday because my Facebook account was hacked. So if anything from my old account, don't trust it. Like if it's not from today, don't trust it. I even told
Yeah,
Pat last night.
yeah. We don't generally do the Facebook thing because it's like your own personal thing, your own personal page. Um, Instagram and YouTube seems a little bit less personal.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it just does. If you want to do a Facebook, you let me know and then I can drop it for you.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
you tell me if you want me to do it, I'll be more than happy to do it.
I just want to
Um,
prove people this is me. The other person is not me. This is me.
that's right. Some of the people in the chat, of course, Ricky from the old AS. Speaking of film critics, Ricky and Pablo are those guys they actually do a pretty good job at reviewing. Um, there's a fine art to it, isn't there?
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that there is actually an art to it. It's not just me writing down my opinion. Like more thought goes into it than that for sure.
Um, I don't know how really to. I don't know. Maybe because I only have so much time on my phone. I'm afraid if I went on a rant, I would run up all my battery. I don't have that much. So
Yeah.
I mean, I find myself writing better reviews than I do speaking them, and I I hate doing solo reviews. Oh, just when I have somebody else there, like when me and Al talked about when we did the Friday the 13th and we did the American Ninja, the Battle of the Two Doctors. I mean, I could just talk and I could, express my opinion, and what I saw, my observations about the movie and whatnot. And it's so relaxed and it's just like I feel like I'm doing bouncing it off. But when I sit there on YouTube and I do have to do a solo review, oh Lord have mercy, it's painful. It's painful.
That's
I'm just not
interesting
very
because
good.
I love doing the solo reviews. I love writing them. I love doing the little jokes. I love doing the little gags. I even include my cats in it, and I do like little voiceovers for them. I love doing impressions and stuff like that. So that's a lot of
Now, see,
fun for me.
when I wrote my reviews, I enjoyed writing them, which is probably why I should really go back to doing it that way because I do write better reviews than I do speaking them.
Oh,
Uh,
same here. I can write better than I speak, but I'm trying to work on that.
um, me and Al, we got okay. So, Gareth from Video Tasties, he's been doing this new thing called Friday Night Fights, and what he's been doing, he's been grabbing different YouTubers. We're gonna get him to expand his fight pool though, because it's the same people fighting. I want to see more, I want to see fresh faces. But me and Al, we're heading over there. We're gonna fight. Um, Supposedly gonna fight about non franchise ghost stories.
Non-franchise ghost stories, like 13 Ghosts.
Like yeah, like any ghost movie like The Sixth Sense.
Yeah,
Sixth Sense.
or The Others. That movie's amazing.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about it. I do like the supernatural, so I do have some ghost stories that I do like. I'm trying to determine if the my favorite movie is qualifies, which I think it does. I do think it does qualify as a ghost story.
What
Um,
is it?
it's a movie called A Dark Song.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think that qualifies.
Okay, so you saw that movie.
I've seen a ridiculous amount of horror movies. You have no idea.
You watched The Dark Song on IFC Midnight?
Yeah,
Wow. All right. Wow. Okay. Not very many people have. I know that of all the people I know, me, Ben from Cadaver Club, um, Night Watch, and Coriander, and and uh, 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 Mike from American Werewolf in New Jersey, they've watched it. A few other people have watched it too. But what did you think of that movie?
I think it was interesting. I love seeing different filmmaking techniques. Just the way films are shot. Usually, it's just standard, your point and shoot. But I like when camera movement's involved. I like when there's not a lot of fast editing, and I like when movies rely more on dialogue than like surprises. There's a difference between suspense and the difference between surprise, and I really like the suspense aspects of a lot of films. These days, there's too many that rely on like jump scares and stuff like that. But oh,
Ice Lord has seen A Dark Song. What did you think of it, Ice Lord? Yeah, because you know how that is. Do you have your own little movies that you do you have like your group of movies or group of actors that you follow and that you champion that you feel nobody else knows about?
yeah, oh yeah. For sure. I'm actually meeting a lot of independent filmmakers now that I'm getting out there and doing more interviews with people. So on my channel, I did an interview with John Nickel and Andre Becker about their film Underneath. It's an anthology of terror. It should be available on video on demand soon. And then also 18 and a half. That's available on 18 on video demand soon too. That was done by Dan Mervish. So on my channel, I have interviews with those guys if you're interested.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely talk to them.
They're independent
I'll
filmmakers,
talk to
not like
anybody.
that, because they don't have that Hollywood influence. You know what I mean?
Right,
That pressure. They
right.
can just make the films they want to make.
Yeah, independent filmmakers, they are the last of a kind in that regard. I mean, even the big names directors are no longer have the freedom to do whatever the hell they want. I mean, even the big names, Scorsese or Spielberg or or the Russos or what have you. Everybody's going to have a suit on the set, to look over everything and offer their opinion whether they want it or not.
Exactly.
Ricky's mentioning about ghost stories. He's mentioning that we should go with the Crystal Lorona. You know what? If I did that, I think I would bring the one from Grimm into play. That would be my pick. That was an excellent story. Um, okay, Kaz is asking Mr. Flixter, have you worked with John Borkowski?
No.
No. Uh, so how did you? Let's go back to the beginning. Where have you? I know you live in Niagara Falls now. Were you born and raised a Canadian? Or are you a Canadian native?
Yeah, yeah. I was born in Vancouver, actually, BC, on
Oh,
the other
you're
side of the continent.
yeah.
And then my family and I moved around my whole life. I actually spent a lot of my time growing up in the States. I've lived in Atlanta, Georgia. I've lived in San Francisco, California. I've lived in Cincinnati, Ohio. I've lived in Detroit, Michigan, and now here in Niagara Falls.
Oh wow. Okay. But
I've been everywhere. I've been all over the world too, eh?
You were born in Canada though, so you're a Canadian citizen.
I'm true north.
Let's see. Ice Lord mentions it's a pretty good movie. I think tried to show demons in a different way. The acting was all right. The music was pretty fantastic. Good movie overall. Hell yeah, it was an awesome movie. That's actually been my favorite movie I reviewed. Of all the movies I reviewed, that's been my number one favorite.
That's awesome.
Yeah, every just about everybody would tell you that. Um, yeah, it's an interesting one. That's a good question too, but we'll get to that in a little bit. When you were traveling around, what did you? How did you develop your love for film? Was it through watching film? Was it watching through TV? Was it reading about it?
Well, it started off from watching films because I noticed that I watched films differently than the average person did. Like I'd watch films repeatedly, like a ridiculous amount of times. Like I'd wear out VHS tapes. Like I was just always obsessed with movies. But when I was a kid, my parents took me to Hollywood. So I was able to see the Walk of Fame, and I saw like Rodeo Drive, and I saw the huge Hollywood sign. And one of the things that we did, like it was kind of like a family tradition. Like each state that we go to, we visit the Planet Hollywood in that state. So it was a big deal for me to go to Planet Hollywood in Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like that was huge. So I got bit by the Hollywood bug when I was very, very young. I've just always been obsessed with movies.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think all of us pretty much are, whether, at some point of our lives or not, but I guess it's what we do with it. Like some people, have started collecting. Some people, like yourself, you decided to take a love of the movies and decided to make it into a profession.
I
And
find solace in movies too. Like before I even became a film critic, it's just something that I always connected with. Like whenever I felt sad, I put a happy movie on, for example, or to cheer me up. Because growing up, I didn't really have a lot of friends. Being the new kid's hard, right? So moving to different states, you make connections and then you break them. So I spent a lot of time alone. So therefore, the movies have always just been there for me. It's sort of like a crutch too. Not so much escapism. I don't like the word escapism because I'm not trying to escape reality. I just want to enjoy a story. You know what I mean? I want to sit down and relax, take a break from my day, and just think about
right.
something else. I guess that could be considered escapism if you look at it, but I don't see it that way.
No, I don't. I mean, thank you so much, Ricky. I appreciate you. I appreciate that. Get some sleep, my friend, for sure. I was like that. I think a lot of us are like that too. We started watching a lot of TV when we were younger. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people watch a lot of horror films, because that's like the ultimate escapism film. It's like a dark fantasy. It's like nothing on the screen is really nothing's gonna happen like that to us in real life. And there's not gonna be a supernatural killer that's gonna come for us or nothing like that. So I think a lot of people can escape into that. Like, or if I'm having a bad day, I'll put on a Jason movie, and I can see somebody on the screen is having a lot worse day than I am, and not
Exactly.
and I'm like, oh, hey, that works for me. Uh, uh, hey, Echo's here. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate that. Um,
I just need to grab my phone charger. I just realized my phone's getting low, my battery. I'll be right back. 1 second.
I thought Jason was real. I thought he was real. He seemed real to me. Uh, yeah, that's That's a good thing, though. I mean, as far as escapism goes, I'm trying to think of things like that. I guess I watch, I guess escapism films and TV are like comfort food. You know how some people, when they get, down or what have you, they'll grab themselves a hamburger or something like that, some comfort food. I guess we do that. I guess we do the same for movies. Uh, hey, Chadwick, how are you, sir? Oh, wow,
My
yeah,
bad. Sorry about that.
that's all right.
I'm using my phone. I didn't realize it was low. I just woke up like an hour ago.
Oh. Yeah, I use my phone too. I have a charger and I plug it in and while I do the show.
Yeah.
Keeps it powered up. Uh, so what were some of your favorite memories growing up? I mean, is both film related and non-film related.
That is a good question. Some of my favorite movies growing up were like not necessarily horror. I wasn't actually into horror until I became like 10, 11. It was my sister that introduced me to horror. She watched Scream with me, the first Scream, the original.
Right.
And that actually not only introduced me to horror, but it spawned my love for horror. Because it was after that where I started to wonder about the other movies that they mentioned in that film. And that really was the starting point for me for my obsession with horror. But other movies before that I was obsessed with, I liked the Jurassic Park, the original film. I liked the Terminator movies, stuff like that. My dad was always big into action movies, so I watched stuff like that and Die Hard when I was a kid. And eventually, I just got my curiosity for horror, and my sister helped me out with that. Some of the comedies I like are like Dumb and Dumber. That's a classic one that I always go back to that I still watch today. Like Ace Ventura. I love Jim Carrey. Get as far as fellow Canadian.
Um, well, it's funny you mentioned that because I just watched I just put my video out for To Be Tuesdays presented by Al Ducard. Um, Product placement there. Pay me later, Al. So I did an episode of a man called Hawk, and the episode I watched and reviewed today had Mike Starr in it.
Oh,
So it was like it was an early role for him because
yeah, yeah.
he's always plays the bad guy pretty much. It's pretty
I've
rare to
always,
see him play the good guy.
I've always been a big fan of like Johnny Depp too and Tim Burton films, like because he's in a lot of Tim Burton films, right? But I was always attracted to like Steven Spielberg films, just the way he shot films. I thought was so much different than other filmmakers. Like he was so much more visionary with his scope and the way he planned his scenes out. And the same with Tim Burton too. He's always so imaginative with his set designs and the way each frame is set up. It's really phenomenal the way those two filmmakers' minds work.
Well, what are
And
some of the
so
movies? So Jurassic Park, you were already enamored right there and there. Did you know who actually Steven Spielberg was when you were watching the movies, or did
oh yeah,
that come
oh yeah.
later? Okay,
So as a kid, like I would do projects on different people, like because we do presentations, right, for class. Steven Spielberg is one of the persons that I did a project on when I was really, really young, and my mom has pictures of it. So yeah, I was the kind of person I've always been able to recognize. Like I always read the names for credits. So people ask me how much I know so much about movies. I'm like, I just read the credits through the movie. Like all the names are there. Everything you want to know about a film is in the credits.
oh no, how many times do you dash over to IMDb to find out, like you see somebody and go like, who was that? Or you hear a good score and you go like, who made this music or who directed this film? And you just go to the movie database page and go like, oh hell yeah, all right, that's awesome.
Yeah, but this was the '90s
I know I
before.
do that all the time.
Oh, yeah, I do that all the time now, but before that, before the internet, like this was the early '90s, right? So I was just obsessed with it, and I would just watch the credits, and be like, "Oh, okay, so this guy directed it." Or I noticed a similar style in filmmaking, I'd be like, "Oh, is this done by the same person?" And then after a while, you start recognizing the names, and you start getting familiar with those people.
Right. I think, wow, I think of growing up. I'm trying to think of hey John, how are you, sir? Glad you're here. Glad you're
Yeah,
here.
I'm 36, so I grew up without the internet. I remember time
Yeah,
before the
yeah,
internet.
yeah, I grew up during the infant days of it too. For sure.
I was one of
Uh,
the first kids to take like a computer class at my school.
well,
Like an
I mean, I
online
used to
class,
do
like keyboard and stuff like that. Oh my god.
before all that. I mean, it used to be that you just go down there and go down to the bookstore and you just grab a stack of magazines. I mean, they had so many magazines out that you go down there, grab a stack of them, and you could actually afford some of them back then. Um, you could go to the bookstore, read up on all the magazines, and then take one, buy one. You got enough money that you could buy one, so you'd always buy like a Fangoria, or Starlog, or that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Now these days, now you can just go online and print magazines are just a thing of the past. It's really just about.
that's
I think
remember it's like card catalogs too, eh?
uh yeah, yeah.
Card catalogs. Oh god.
I mean, now do you collect films too?
Oh yes.
Do you collect physical or you collect streaming?
I prefer to have the physical copy.
Okay, okay. When did you start collecting? What was the first movie that you bought?
The first movie that I bought for myself, I remember, was the Godzilla movie from the '90s with Matthew Broderick. It was done by Roland Emmerich.
Right.
Terrible
Oh,
movie, I know, but when I was a kid, I loved it. Like I watch it now, I'm like, why did I like this? Like, there's so many problems. Of course, I look at films differently now. Oh, Moonfall.
Moonfall.
That was actually one of my worst films so far
I,
this year
I,
in my video. You can check my channel for that.
did you like
I, did,
it?
I didn't like it. I did a
Oh,
video with Movies and Munchies about the worst films so far this year, and that was on my
oh,
list.
oh. It looks like a total popcorn movie.
Oh, it's a disaster, that's for sure.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this. Let's see. Um, See, Eyesore is asking, anybody having trouble with vinegar syndrome or Severin lately? Severin has always been trouble, so that's nothing new. Vinegar syndrome, I don't know. I don't really shop boutique labels like that. I can't afford it. Hi, John. How are you, sir? Uh, John here, Doomsday Crypt in the house. See, John's asking you, what's your favorite horror movie and your favorite non-horror movie?
My favorite horror movie is definitely Scream because that's where it all began for me. And I've seen the movie so many times. That's the kind of movie I put on for comfort. Like I'll put Scream on to fall asleep to, for example. Like, I love that movie so much. And favorite non-horror? That's a good question. I do watch a lot of comedy movies aside from horror movies, so I'm probably gonna have to say like maybe Ace Ventura or Dumb and Dumber, something like that. Any old Jim Carrey movie is definitely right up my alley.
I think for my favorite non-horror movie that I like to listen to at night when I go to sleep would probably be Halloween '78. That's just
The
that's
original.
just
Yeah.
that'll get John going. He'll sit there and say, "That son of a bitch, he's on my ass now. He's on my ass all over again. I'm gonna get you one of these days. Yeah, you and that cheetah too." Uh, no, let me ask you now that we talked about that. How what did you think of Halloween '78? Because you saw that after you saw Scream. What did you think about that when you watched a modern, like one of the basically one of the table setters in horror in Halloween '78? How did you compare it to Scream? And how would you compare it to Scream?
I thought that they are two different tones. I think the original Halloween '78 is a lot slower and it takes itself a lot more seriously. The thing about Scream is it's half comedy and it's half horror movie, in my opinion. Because even though it kind of pokes fun at horror movies, it does have a lot of really good scares. And the concept itself, if you think about it, is really creepy. A horror fan that takes his obsession for horror movies way too far, like that,
Sort of like
that, that has always been really scary to me because that could actually happen. Like that's why I think slashers are my favorite kind of horror movies because they're more realistic, in my opinion. Like for the most part, like yeah, ghosts are scary, and I have had experiences with the paranormal and stuff like that. But there's just something about serial killers. There's something very real about that. And anyone could be a serial killer, and you never know who to expect. So slashers have always been up there with me. And the original Halloween, I thought that was really creepy because the thought of some kid that just snaps one day for apparently no reason and just kills for the love of killing. For like, he doesn't talk, so that adds the mystery to it too. You don't really see his face except for like I think you see it once toward the end there, but that's not even Nick Castle. It's the guy who played the shape of the most part. And just the way that Laura goes through her day. That's the thing too. I love how the movie takes place in one day. It starts in the afternoon and then it goes to the nighttime, and you see him kind of follow Laurie around her group of friends. And just when it finally gets to that night, that's suspense. Like it's not just all like gore and just girls. You know what I mean? Like there's actually the story there. That's what I really appreciated. That's what I look for in horror movies: a good story.
Yeah, story is everything. I just, yeah, I mean, the story is everything. If you don't have a good story, no, Hobbs isn't leaving, John. That's just what he says when he sees the singer.
But yeah, I was blown away when I saw the Halloween the first time because that's where I learned about it was from Scream, right? So I'm like, what is this movie that they keep referencing to? So
Right.
then my sister introduced me to that one. And then she introduced me to like Friday the 13th, for example. And they mentioned Nightmare in that movie. And they mentioned The Howling. That's where I got
You
my
know,
obsession with werewolves from.
I think what happened for me, I think what in all honesty, I think what really happened to me, for as far as that goes, why Halloween didn't affect me as much as everybody else did, is because I was at the same time that I saw The Exorcist. And as much as I love Halloween, I do give Halloween a lot of respect. I do. Okay, maybe I don't love it as much, but honestly, I saw about the same time I saw The Exorcist. The Exorcist was just an amazing movie. I mean, that was just like that's where I got my love of supernatural horror from.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I'm more of a supernatural horror fan than I am a slasher fan.
The Exorcist is so good. It's one of those movies that just kind of set such a high bar for like possession films and exorcism films that none of the other films have really compared to it. So that's why, like, I'm not really a fan of like exorcism films, is because of The Exorcist, because no film is going to be as good as that one, and everything that seems like so derivative of The Exorcist. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what exorcism film comes out, it just feels like they're trying to copy The Exorcist, and you can't, you can't, you can't just get that light in the bottle. And yeah, I really do love Halloween. John Carpenter was one filmmaker that I started following after I watched that one. So because of Halloween, I found The Thing and some of his other famous movies, and that score has always just stuck with me. That's actually my ringtone, the Halloween theme.
Okay. More so because I don't think Scream really did have a score to it. Not
Not
really.
really, no. It has that one Red Right Hand song, but that's not an original song, right? Like they got that from someone else, and that's in a lot of other movies. But that's like the Scream song, that Red Right Hand.
Let's see. John's mentioning that Vinny, his mask maker friend, is making him a Regan. I'll have it on the table at Phantasm. Okay. Oh, that's right. Phantasm is coming up really shortly. That's John's going to his he's going to his convention, and you just went. You just did your first convention as a professional journalist. How what was that like going to see it from the
Sorry, my phone fell. Go on.
um, what was it like going to your first convention as a journalist, more as than as a fan?
Oh my God, the difference is night and day going as a fan between going as a journalist, because I got to do a lot of things that the average person wasn't able to do. Like I didn't have to wait in line to get in. Like we can just go through the side door, right? And I got to see what it's like backstage, and I got to meet celebrities up close and personally, and the whole thing was just so surreal. Just being able to meet my horror icons and like shake their hands and like look them in the eyes as I'm talking to them, like these people that I've been watching my entire life. Like that's one thing to get the autograph, but to actually be able to sit down with them and have a conversation is so much different.
Right. I mean, now, as a journalist, now you're, as a fan, you want an autograph, but as a journalist, you got to play that as old hat. Well, I'd just like to get can I get 20 minutes of your time? And then you sit down, then you ask your questions and whatnot. You got your little tape recorder there, and you're sitting there and you're doing it. And as soon as they're done, you got to say thank you so much, shake their hand, and then move on to the next one. You're no longer necessarily a fan. You're because you're now all working. You're working,
Yeah,
and it is way different, isn't it? It's like you're right. It's a night and day. And then like after the third or fourth person you meet, then I think that newness goes away, and then you realize you're there for a job. You're there to get a story, you know, have good questions, ready to ask them, and have your follow-ups ready. Have your follow-up questions ready. Even if your follow-up questions are you're forming it as you're listening to their answer. You're listening to their answer and you're forming your follow-up. Um, John is
I've always been naturally inquisitive too. Like I always have
yeah.
a ton of questions about everything, and I've always wondered, like when I was watching movies as a kid, I wondered about that movie magic, like how they did all that stuff. Like because a lot of the movies were made before CGI, right? And I just wondered how they were able to shoot the scenes that they did. And I just thought that was so fascinating. So when DVDs came out and they had special features and all those behind the scenes looks, like I was so happy because I got to see behind the curtain for the first time. You know what I mean? And you're right.
Right.
When you meet someone, it was like the third or fourth person, like the butterflies kind of go away. But there's just some of them, for example, like Roger L. Jackson. I got such butterflies in my stomach talking to him. I was so nervous talking to the voice of Ghostface.
Okay. Okay. Well, that was because that was your first film. Everybody has, like, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I was immune to it because I got starstruck too. When I met John Doe and when I met Dave Alvin and Penelope Houston, I was starstruck too. It's like
Oh yeah.
I'm the one doing the show, but I'm starstruck.
I forgot my name when I introduced myself to Roger L. Jackson. I'm like,
Hello, hello, Chris. Hell no. Let's see. What Icehore's got another question. He's gonna sit there and say, what is your favorite horror subgenre? And then I got a question up here from John. Have you ever seen heroic actions of Master Sergeant John Chapman? No, I'll have to look at that one after the interview. I have to look at that. That's later, but I will look at it. Let's see. That's the same joy I got with the table at cons, hanging out with the celebs on a different level compared to buying the ticks. Yeah, because you're now your peers. That's really what it is. You go from your peers. You're asking them about questions about their career, about their films, and they're answering.
You don't have to wait in line to see them at that table either. You can just talk to them. Like it's different. Like even if you see them walking around out and about, you can just kind of approach them, and they don't think much of it because you have the media pass on. So I actually kept bumping into Roger L. Jackson after I did the interview with him and stuff like that. I kept bumping into him in different places. Like every time I turn around, he was just kind of there. I was like, "Oh, hello, how are you?" And then we just had casual conversations, and I thought that was so cool. We were just two people having a conversation.
And, that's really all it is. It always amazes me when I
don't realize. Sorry, go ahead.
It always amazes me when I hear people that when they meet somebody, they'll sit there and start talking about, like they get starstruck about it, and it's just like, but they're just people. I mean, they're just people. That's what I mean. It's just they really, really prefer you talk to them like you and I are talking. Exactly. They don't want. The vast majority, like 95% of them, do not want to have you fawn all over them. Oh my God, you're awesome and screaming, but no, they really don't want that. They really want you to just come up there and say, "Hi, Roger, how are you? How are you enjoying your convention?"
People forget that, yeah. But these are people that we're dealing with, so they do appreciate the love and the attention that they get from the work that they've done, obviously. But that's not all that they want to talk about. These people do have lives outside of their jobs, just like you and me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And actually, another funny story. I was out having a smoke, and all of a sudden I bumped into Alex Vincent. Like, this is before I even had a chance to interview him. I was just like, oh. So I was really nervous trying to talk to him, but I was just like, hey, man, how's it going? And he's like, oh, I'm kind of stressed. Like, we just had a conversation. We didn't even talk about movies. We just talked.
He was outside smoking?
No, I'm not advocating smoking.
Oh, okay. I thought you said he was smoking.
I was outside smoking, and he just kind of came out back to get some fresh air kind of thing. Just to kind of get away. He was really stressed out, right? He just like, I had to get away from the crowd for a minute.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yep. That's how it works.
The back parking lot that is the entrance that the celebrities go through and the press was able to go through. Like, it wasn't a public entrance.
John's mentioning 90s horror didn't have many good scores. They used a lot of rock music, which hurt the movies, I think. I think you're right. I think rock has no place in horror themes.
Even nowadays, I miss horror movie theme music, or it's just movie theme music in general. Because a lot of times, it's generic rock or generic hip hop. It's not that orchestral symphony that used to be.
Horror movies are orchestra symphonies. That's all there is to it. I don't want a rock theme,
for example.
I don't want a rock. I don't want a rock theme. I don't want a rock theme to a horror movie. I want it to be, powerful. I don't want it to be chunky.
I want strings. I want the violins, the tension,
right?
The screeching sound, or even the piano, like in the original Halloween theme. That's my ringtone. I love that theme so much.
See, I don't have a ringtone per se, but if I did, it'd probably be something like that.
And I like the new version actually for Halloween Kills. Like, they updated the song, and I do like what John Carpenter did with it. If he didn't work on it, I probably wouldn't be so receptive to it. But he was actually the one that kind of improved it, so I thought that was really good.
I want to talk to you about that here in a second and catch up with the chat here. Let's see.
It's so weird being on the other end of things now. Like, I'm so used to being in the chat asking the questions while you're talking to someone else, and now things are flipped, right?
Right. No. Yeah, that's what I mean. You'll get. You're gonna get used to this. This is gonna be a part. This is gonna be a part where you're. You'll be. Sooner or later you'll be doing this on your YouTube channel. Actually, I'm sort of surprised you haven't started it yet. Start interviewing people on your channel. John does it. John interviews people. John from Doomsday Crypt. He gets in there. He interviews people. I'm not sure if Kevin has, though. I don't know if Kevin's interviewed anybody yet or not, but he could do that.
I do have a couple interviews on my channel. I'm just starting off. Like, my channel's pretty new, right? Like, I started in January of this year. And I apologize to my subscribers. I haven't really put much content out in the month of July. I'm sorry, the month of June, because I've been really busy trying to edit these videos for Comic-Con. I have so many hours of footage trying to get through, but I will be posting on my channel again soon. Yes, very soon. Sorry about the delay, folks.
Yeah, that's the one thing you have to keep. You have to keep posting content.
So I know it's
Or
been a while, but I'm still around. I'm still doing content. I'm just working behind the scenes.
yeah. Well, no. I mean, people understand that. How did you get involved with HorrorBuzz?
Funny story. Okay, my story with HorrorBuzz starts about 2 years ago, back in 2019. And basically, I started going to movies more often. Like, I was able to work it out my budget where I could go to movies once a week. So I started taking pictures of my ticket stubs in front of the posters. And I'm like, what a great movie night. But the people would start asking me, well, what was your opinion on it? Like, what did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? So it started off by me just, writing a few short sentences. Like, I like the acting. I liked some of the horror elements, for example, just short little notes. And then people wanted to know more. So I started to do more developed reviews. Like, I didn't really see myself as a critic yet. Like, I've always wanted to be a film critic, though, because just I've always read movie reviews. I've always wondered what people's thoughts were. I was kind of person, when a movie came out opening weekend, I would read 4 or 5 reviews of the same movie just to get different perspectives about it before going in to see it. Just because I wanted to, you know, just I was curious. But I started to, but I never really thought about writing them myself per se. But then through Facebook, people started asking me all these questions, and then I just started to write down my thoughts, and then my thoughts started to get more developed. And then I realized people were interested in this, and they started saying that I was pretty good at what I did. So I started a Facebook group called Mr. Flixter, and in that I started to post regular reviews, and that's when I started to apply to different websites. So I applied to so many websites, and then one day uh, I actually got an email from HorrorBuzz. It's funny though, because I didn't know about HorrorBuzz at the time. Like, they contacted me, I didn't contact them, and they offered me the job. He said it was Norm Kidney who found me, and he said he was really impressed with my Candyman review from August 2021. And oh, I'm drawing a blank right now. Shoot, hold on. Oh, Night House, my review for Night House, because that was an independent film, and he was surprised that Niagara Falls even got it because it didn't really get a wide release. Like, so it was those 2 reviews specifically that he mentioned by name that really got his attention, and that's when he hired me on for HorrorBuzz. And the first movie I did for HorrorBuzz was called Behemoth, a small little independent film. So it's on the website there if you want to read the review. And then after I got hired on, I learned that they had a YouTube channel, and I was kind of curious about being on there, but they said, well, we'll see how it goes, because I'm a new hiree. I didn't really want to step on toes, but I kept talking about YouTube to my friends and my family, and they're like, it got to the point where they're all like, if you want to be on YouTube so badly, why don't you just make your own channel, and then you can just show them what you're capable of, and then you don't have to beg them so much. And then
Right.
it clicked. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. Like, if I can just show them what I can do, then it'd be a little bit easier for them to make their decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. I mean,
So
you have
it's
to
show,
you have
not
to
tell.
build up a.
That's the key here for writing and for job interviews. I guess you want to show, you don't want to tell, because you can tell, you can talk about anything in the world, right? But unless you can really prove yourself that you can actually do it, then there's no other way to know, right?
Right. Let me catch up with the chat here.
And then
Kevin's.
just kind of went from there. I started doing more frequent appearances on HorrorBuzz Live, and then they just kind of took off. Yeah. I, I've been there for a year almost. I was hired on in August of last year,
Mhm.
and now I'm doing conventions and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. I'm trying to get into Fan Expo Toronto. That's in the end of August, and then they have like a horror movie film festival here in Niagara Falls called Fret Mirror in the Falls. That's toward Halloween, so I'm trying to get into that one now too. I think they were
Let your
testing me
yeah
for
yeah. I was gonna say
Comic Con, right?
let
Like, if they wanted to see what I could do to see if I could actually handle the big ones, like Toronto Film Festival and stuff like that. That's my goal. I really want to do TIFF.
okay. Let your editor when you let your editor if you tell him if you don't want for some of the really big shows, tell your editor and hey, I want to cover that show, and your editor he'll be able to get you in there. Let me
Oh
catch
yeah,
up on the chat here
that's
and
what happened with Comic Con. Eh? I saw stuff about it on Facebook. I'm like, would I be able to cover that for the website? And he looked into it, and next thing I know, yeah, I got an invitation, and I was able to go.
Yeah, I still got to do that. I wanted to. I should. It's just I don't know what it is. Let me catch up with the chat here for the
Sure,
third
sure.
time. For the third time. Um, see,
I talk a
see.
lot. Sorry, I'm a bad
I know.
distraction.
No, you're
I go off
nervous.
different tangents too, eh? Like I just have so much going on.
No, you're nervous. That actually will go away, Chris. That will actually go away. The nervousness there, that'll go away. The more you do these sort of things, the more you get into it, it'll fade away. You'll be fine.
Oh, for sure.
Um, but try not to do that. Look at that. The interview we're talking. Try not to walk on people though. That's the thing. Let the other person have room to talk. That's otherwise you're doing awesome. No one has answered our question, Chris. What movie did this come from? These are spirit fingers. No one has asked. No one has answered our question.
Come on,
Um,
people.
let's see. John's asking about the '90s. Oh, yeah, we did that one. John's saying about meeting with people, peers. Yeah, John, you're definitely a peer now. You've done enough conventions now where you're not intimidated by anybody. Kevin has not interviewed anybody on his channel yet. Uh, that's the key word in that sentence is yet, because Kevin would be an excellent interviewer, I think, on his channel if he ever wanted to do that. John's mentioning, what's your favorite book? Uh, thank you guys for accepting me into the community. I have hard time fitting in with people. You fit like a glove here, John.
Well,
Um,
welcome, welcome.
yeah, yeah. What's your favorite book? And were you a big reader when you were growing up? I mean, did that come first before movies for you?
My parents were always big on reading, and the way they got me into reading was actually comic books. They figured, sure, they're just little short, little like cartoons almost, but my mom's like, at least he's reading, and he has that desire to read. And I read a lot of magazines too when I was a kid. Like Entertainment Weekly was a big one for me when I was growing up, and then I read like Fangoria, like you mentioned before, a lot of horror magazines. But yeah, a big reader. My favorite book is probably non-horror. I'd have to say Jurassic Park because it's just so much different than the movie. The movie is like the watered down version of the book. So if you haven't read the Jurassic Park book, it's so much good, so much more detail. Like it's so much better. And then my favorite horror book would have to be It, Stephen King. I'm a huge Stephen King fan.
Okay. Yeah, I was a big Michael Crichton fan. I
Yeah,
like
I
Michael
like Michael
Crichton
Crichton.
quite a bit.
Uh,
Uh,
Give me a second here. I can show you my books because I'm right here at my desk.
okay. And Kevin answered Kevin got the answer.
Okay, good. Let's see. Can I flip the camera around?
That's a good question, Kevin. How do that's a really good question.
Here's some of my
How do
Stephen
you
King books if you're interested. I got
how do
Hudson
you look at
Atlantis,
movies? How do you
Sleeping
look at
Beauties.
movies? Jesus. How do you look at movies now more so than you did as before you started before you became a reviewer?
Well, I've always had this the quote unquote critic's brain because I've always noticed that I watch movies differently than the average person does. Because I would wonder why they chose to make like that writing choice. Like, why did they go this direction for the movie instead of going another way? Which I thought might have been a little bit not necessarily better, but it would have made a little bit more sense for certain movies. Like I just never, I was always questioning movies, and just the way people acted, I always noticed like some actors are better than other actors. I noticed direction styles pretty early on too. Not everyone directs movies the same way. Then it got to a point where so for some movies, I can just tell without even knowing just the way it's shot. Like if it's a Michael Bay movie, or if it's like a Tim Burton movie, or if it's Wes Craven, you know what I mean? Because they have their styles. John Carpenter too is a very stylish director. So I've always had this critic's brain, and I've always watched movies on repeat. So some movies I've seen like 20 times or more, and my parents got mad at me because they kept having to replace VHS tapes all the time. So I've always had this appreciation for it because I find solace in movies, and I've always had wondered why do they do this? Why couldn't they do this instead? How come this didn't happen? You know, I always had these questions going through my mind. And
Uh-huh.
I'd wonder why people liked certain movies. And I was always wondering why people liked horror movies before I got into them myself. So it was that curiosity that really piqued it.
What was it like when you
I've
look
always
at
been inquisitive.
What was it like when you started watching TV? Did you notice how big a difference there was between watching TV and watching films?
Oh yeah, huge difference. Even like from back then to today, I don't really watch a whole lot of TV. Like there's some things that are exceptions, of course. Like I love The Walking Dead. I love Game of Thrones. We're going back in time to like the '90s. I love sitcoms. I love a lot of '90s sitcoms. I just like Seinfeld, Friends, stuff like that. I thought it was so funny. Even like mid 2000s, like Malcolm in the Middle. The Office was another really good one that I enjoyed. But yeah, TV is a lot different because the scale is smaller. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of like direction, if that makes sense. Like it's usually just standard point and shoot, and some sitcoms have like the three camera setup. So there's a lot more involved when it comes to filmmaking. Each scene is
So,
framed differently. Each scene is written like very specifically, and then you have directors like Edgar Wright who find like songs and then write entire scenes based on that song, and then they try to work that into their screenplay later on. And that's so cool how he does that, and it works almost every time.
uh, how would you? Yeah, you're right. Talking about sitcoms. I mean, some sitcoms are they were recorded live. One camera, and they cover all the action. Um, what do you think is as far as the genre goes? I mean, what do you look for when you see a good funny movie? What makes a movie funny for you? Like like burst out loud laughing. Is it more subtle comedy, or is it more? Are you more of a physical comedian type?
While I do appreciate the physical comedy, I like good writing. I like offbeat humor. I like deadpan humor. Like Arrested Development is probably the best example for that because it's random and it's just so some of the things the characters say are just so off the wall. It's like, how'd you even come up with that? It's just so funny. Yeah, so I appreciate good, crisp writing.
Did you like did you like Seinfeld?
I love Seinfeld. That's one of my favorite shows. I still watch it.
Okay. Uh, let's see. John's mentioning. Did you guys like choose your own adventure books? I think they're awesome. Wow, I have not read one of the. I've seen those books. I know they were very popular in the young adult section for a while. I'm not sure if they ever moved up to that, out of that. I know I did read a few of those. It is interesting. And I know that on Final Destination 3, they did that as a special feature. They, you basically chose your own path, and you could live or you could die. God, we were just talking about that yesterday. Um, yeah, that was a really interesting thing. I wish more movies would do for special features that give us an alternative ending. Uh, let's see.
Personally, I grew up reading Goosebumps books, and after a while, R.L. Stein started doing that. He started releasing those choose your own adventure books. So yeah, I have read quite a few of those. I think they're fun. They're cool ideas. Even Netflix is starting to do stuff like that, like the Bandersnatch and like the
Well,
Carmen San
I
Diego
know
thing.
DC did that. DC did that with the animated one of their animated adventures. They they said I think it was a Death in the Family, as a matter of fact, and they said
Mhm.
pick your own. You could pick your own ending. You could pick your own where the story goes.
Yeah,
Uh, really quite different. Let's see. Mr. Flixter, notice your Spider-Man in the back. We need Craven's Last Hunt movie. Yeah, I mean, what's your feeling about the MCU? Or you said you grew up reading comic books. So what do you think of the MCU versus the reading the comic books? Are you a big fan, or are you a fan of the? Are you one of a diehard where you like to see the source material covered, or are you just happy to have superhero movies at all?
I'm one of the people that's just happy to have superhero movies in general because I never thought when I was a kid that we would have the MCU or this many films in it. And watching these '90s cartoons, I always wanted to see movies of like what would happen if Spider-Man met Wolverine. Or like I've always waited for those crossover movies. So the fact that we have like 25 films now in the MCU is amazing. And while not everything is 100% comic book accurate, like for example, if Tony Stark didn't build Ultron, that was Hank Pym, uh,
Right.
Ant-Man. I do appreciate the MCU for what it is. It's not perfect, and it's kind of sad that we'll never get like a true Ant-Man film. I'm sorry, Scott Lang is not my Ant-Man, and I'm really disappointed we never got a Hank Pym movie. Like Hank Pym really deserves his own movie because he's the one who started the Avengers. He's the one that did so much for the Marvel universe in the comics, and he just doesn't get his credit. But I'm glad that there's
That's why I hate about the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not a Guardians of the Galaxy fan. I was
yeah,
a
those
fan of
weren't the Guardians originally.
huh? Yeah, I was a big fan of the original team.
Yeah, I was disappointed when it wasn't the original team, but I wasn't really that big into Guardians anyways. Like I read a few issues, so I gave it a shot. I do like those movies for what they are, but like you said, like it's not 100% true to the source material. But it is
Yeah,
cool that they're starting to include like the Fantastic Four now, and they have the X-Men in the MCU in a multiverse
yeah,
of madness. That's so cool.
yeah. They finally got the rights to it. Do you think that of let's talk about that for a minute because that'll be interesting. So what do you think? I mean, as far as movies go, I mean, you're a film critic. I mean, do you get are you disheartened by the fact that if you went to a cinema, like I mentioned this before, you know, you could go to Times Square to one of the 70 screens they had on playing down there, and you would see Doctor Strange playing in all of them. There's no room left for any independent cinema. Is the cinema as we know it? Is it going to rebound, or is it going to be or is it going to be enslaved to uh, uh, studios? Will they? Do you think theaters will ever have their own voice again, or you think they'll just be dancing to the master's tune?
I think independent films are going to come back, yeah, because there was a point in time, like Fox Searchlight, for example, that was a movie distribution studio that was made specifically for independent films, and a lot of studios like that are still around. And most people might not realize, but there's a huge market for independent films. Like there's independent film festivals. There's one called Horrorama going on in Toronto toward the end of October, toward Halloween that I've been invited to. So I'm looking forward to that because I really do appreciate independent films. And that's one of the cool things about being a film critic. I get to watch independent films that not a lot of people would have access to. And I feel kind of bad for them because some of these movies, well, they don't get wide releases, they still get their little like select city releases. So that's something.
But see,
But I
that's
do think there's going to be a resurgence because a lot of these independent films are so good, and you can't beat quality like that. You know what I mean? Like there's quantity and there's quality.
I'd like to say, yeah, you're right about that, but I'm one of those that I'm totally discouraged by that. I'm going to sit there and say that that's not necessarily true. I bet all the movies that you see in Toronto, how many movies that you're going to see? It'll be curious, keep a notebook, write down all the movies that you watch, and then write down where they make it to a big screen or not. I mean, I really like to see what the percentage is.
That's interesting.
It's so rare. It's so rare.
Yeah, but
Um,
I think that there's going to be a resurgence though because once people start getting access to these films and seeing them for what they're worth, I think they would appreciate stuff like that because they're more about substance over style.
uh, yeah, I would like to think so. I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice to be able to go down to my local theater, walk in there, and see ISC Midnight or an A24 film. I might be able to see an A24 film. Chances of me seeing an ISC film are probably a little less than that. But as far as as far as seeing independent films, anything recently that's been popped out, I don't know, shit, there's so many of them. I can't even think about how many movies I know that never got the light of day. It's sort of weird. It's like people can bring back movies from 40, 50 years ago, and they get more big screen action than a movie that's just got released. I just don't have any faith in the theaters anymore. I just feel like eventually the streaming services are going to push them all out.
Well, that's the thing too. I'm hoping a lot of them, they can't get theatrical releases because a lot of people are still kind of have that aversion to going to the theaters. I hope a lot of them do get on these streaming services because there's smaller ones that are like Shutter, for example, that is specifically for horror.
Yeah.
And I think people can just get their shot and get that door open and get into these streaming services, then they can open up a world of possibilities for other independent filmmakers. So that's why I try to interview more independent filmmakers for my channel because I really want to get the word out there. I'm all about supporting the little guy.
Yeah, they definitely need the help, don't they? I mean, interviewing, when you go back there and you are doing a great service by that, by talking to them and bringing their movies to the forefront. What are some of the actors that you've seen that you champion? I mean, what are some of the actors that you are you have as personal favorites that you would like to see their star rise a little bit more.
I want to see Johnny Depp make a comeback after everything that's going on with him and Amber Heard, because I think he got a raw deal with the new Fantastic Beasts movie. I want to watch it because he got screwed. Uh, the new one that just came out, they replaced them, and I really don't appreciate that. Like, they didn't
I
even
don't
give him a chance. They
I don't
fired him
think the
based off an
audience would do it.
accusation, and it's a civil matter. Like, it wasn't even a criminal like case.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was very fair on his part. So I really hope Johnny Depp gets a resurgence. He needs to call Tim Burton and be like, "Put me in your film."
I'm with you about that. I think Johnny Depp definitely got short. He definitely got screwed over that. Of course, you know, he also has to take blame for part of that. His actions weren't exactly, he has problems. He has his own demons he has to wrestle with, and a lot of them don't have anything to do with Amber Heard. Um, it would be.
That's true. You could say sort of the same thing with Robert Downey Jr. He had a lot of like personal issues, and he seems to be working through them. He made his comeback.
Yeah, as long as I mean, he did the work though. That's the thing. He went out there. He realized he had a problem. He went and had dealt with it. He's like, okay,
Exactly.
fine, I got to deal. He had a wonderful wife that stayed with him throughout the whole thing.
Mhm.
I think that really helped, and he's come out. He's come out. But I'll tell you one thing too about Robert Downey Jr. Do you ever get the sense in any of his interviews that he's taken anything for granted? Because I don't.
No, no. I
No,
think
I
because of what
feel
he
I
went
feel
through, he's very appreciative of what he has now.
he really comes across as that, and I like that as a film goer and as a film reviewer. I like that. I like seeing someone who realizes that what they have, it isn't a given. You have to earn it. You have to keep earning it.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I even like how they handled it in Endgame, because I get that he wants to move on from the MCU and do other things. So I thought it was really nice the way that they kind of wrote him out of the story.
Rick's here from Underground Sub Rosa, um, and that's right. Uh, Okay, how about this? Hobbs is asking you a question too. He wants to know your thoughts on Wild Eye, ITN, Cinedigm, or Raven Banner, Echo Bridge. What do you think about some of the smaller studios? Have you reviewed or watched anything from a small distributor like Raven Banner or Wild Eye or SRS?
Well, that's the cool thing about being a film critic. I get access to a lot of these films that the general film goer wouldn't really have access to. So yeah, I've seen quite a few films by these different studios, and I do like how each one has their own sense of style. Like, I like how the films just aren't carbon copies of the same thing over and over and over again. Each one is so unique.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because I know a lot of the community here, they love the Wild Eye movies, they love the SRS cinemas, me with the IFC, I know there's a lot of people like A24. We all follow the small distributors. They seem to be putting out the much better movies than the big studios are.
Substance over style.
Let's see. Yeah,
That's what I really like
I've been
about
talking
Text.
across a lot of ITM too. A lot of ITN, a lot of Screen Media, a lot of Uncorked, a lot of see Uncorked. Yeah, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot. During the Dollar Tree waves. That's a really good way. I mean, if someone's going to get into films, right? Get into watching films. Would you recommend the Dollar Tree waves as a good place to start?
Yes, I recommend being able to buy as many films as you can, and just start watching them. Start taking little notes. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What things would have made more sense? Not necessarily make it better, but what would make more sense for the story? Like, for example, instead of the girl running up the stairs, being chased by the killer, go outside the front door, for example, like just little
Yeah.
things like that. Like, and
Oh,
I tend to notice little details too. Like, I'm the kind of person that doesn't just watch the actors in the movie. I watch the background too, and I
right.
look at the framing. I look at the lights, the colors. These are all things I talk about in my reviews, because I took some filmmaking classes when I was in high school. I never took I never went to college, but in high school I took some filmmaking classes, and that also gave me another new appreciation for films at the time, because that's when I noticed little things like Francis Ford Coppola, for example, does a lot of like motifs. Like, he'll use the color orange, in the Godfather movies as a symbol for death, for example. And it's little things like that that I tend to pick up on and notice. Like Tim Burton likes to use the color red. Same with Robert Rodriguez.
Uh, that's a good filmmaker.
And even like M. Night Shyamalan, he uses the same sort of motifs for his films. And his films are more hit and miss. I do appreciate that he tries to make stylish films. They're not just all point and shoot. The worst is when you watch a movie and there's no style to it at all. It's just your standard movie, like point and shoot. Okay, like there's no turns, there's no like big camera angles. Like it's all wide shots and close-ups. You know what I mean? Just standard stuff.
I look at M. Night Shyamalan like our version of George Lucas. It's like, okay, you're a good producer. Okay, you're a good producer, but you don't always necessarily have to write everything because you're not that strong of a writer.
Yep.
He really isn't. I mean, yes, he got Star Wars, but I mean, he's not a prolific writer. He's not gifted in that
Yep.
in that sense. But he's a very good producer. I mean, you want it, he'll get it for you. Whatever you want to see on the screen, he's going to make it happen. But
Oh,
he is
sure.
he's not a good screenwriter, that's for sure.
Same with Jerry Bruckheimer. He's a very good producer.
Who is?
Jerry Bruckheimer?
Oh, yes.
Very good producer. Most of his movies I like Gone in 60 Seconds or Con Air, like a lot of good action films. Like my father grew up watching it. Oh, my father kind of raised me on action films, so I've been watching stuff like that since I was very, very little. And I love a good action scene, especially when it's actually done with cars. Yeah, Con Air. Because nowadays it's all CGI, right? That's why I like the new Mad Max. I know that wasn't Brockheimer, but that's just one I can think of that used more practical effects. Like they actually destroyed those cars to make those films, and that was really cool.
Yeah, who are some of the actors? Who are some of your? Who are some of the fresh faces that you see that are up and coming that you really like that you would recommend?
Pardon me?
Who are some of the young actors and actresses that you've seen that are up and coming that you would recommend?
That's a good question. I like the two kids that were in Black Phone. I forget what their names are offhand.
Okay.
There was a movie that. Oh wait. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good question. You mean like child actors, like stuff like that?
No, just talk about actors in general.
Oh. Let me think about that for a minute. Yeah, there was a movie I saw recently. I reviewed it. It was called. Oh, God, like I watched so many movies, right? That's a really good question. You actually stumped me there. I wasn't prepared for a question like that. Let's see.
Uh-huh.
Because
You gotta
some of
go.
these new people, like I don't know their names, so I'm just trying to think of their movies. But
I see a lot of young talent. Interview a lot of people in that way. Like
yeah,
I had a PR guy. He thought he was taking a dig at me. He says, you're not interviewing anybody on your show. My client list can bring you numbers, and yours will not. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I like that. That's exactly why I do this.
yeah, yeah.
I don't do it for the numbers. I do it for the exposure. I do it for like if someone breaks out into an acting role that you don't know who they are, and then next thing you know, you see them on screen and you hear their name and you go like, you know what? I've seen that before. I've seen that on 8 Questions With. That's what I do it for. I don't do it for the big names. It's more fun interviewing the new people.
You do a pretty level
Thanks for
film,
coming
and
out
I love
too,
that.
Bob.
But to answer your question, after thinking about it, I do like Tom Holland. He's a bit of a newcomer. Like he's only really been in the MCU as far as I've seen personally. So I hope he branches out. He does more stuff outside the MCU. I really do like Tom Holland. He's a very talented actor.
Yeah, what did he do? Didn't he just do one with Mark Wahlberg
Yes,
on Uncharted or something like that?
Uncharted. Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but I heard it's pretty good. And I do like Andrew Garfield. He was in a lot of things outside of Spider-Man after that those two movies came out. So he's pretty good.
Yeah, he did a movie I want to finish watching. I started it. It was pretty intense called 99 Houses.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
like those actors. You know what I mean? He just loses himself in his characters.
uh, I think Robert Pattinson's another good actor that, a lot of actors have done a lot of indie films, and they really shine there. They shine on indies, like Topher
What?
Grace.
Hmm.
I think Topher Grace does his best work in independent films. Whenever he does a studio film, he just gets lost. When he does independent films, he shines.
That, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, that's the actress we discovered.
I was like
Meredith
Emma
Moeller.
Stone. Sorry.
Yeah, Meredith Moeller. Yep. We definitely think that she'll be a. We definitely think she'll pop. I definitely do. Well, it's fun because I've seen actresses like Alyssa Dowling. When I first met Alyssa Dowling, I mean she was on the fringe, but now she's about ready to pop. She's gonna. I think she'll break within the next year. Jamie Bernadette, her star's risen pretty sharply.
I like
Uh,
Brittany Snow. She was in X more recently, but she's done a lot of other like low budget stuff.
yeah, she did the Pitch Perfect movies. That was really good.
Oh, that's right.
But
Yeah.
then, yeah, she did a movie called Hangman with Al Pacino. I really enjoyed that. Yes, I mean, there's a lot of young actors out there that are just full of they just got to get a chance to shine.
I also like
Uh,
the main girl. I think her name is Mia Goth. She played
right.
Maxine and she played Pearl. She's really good. She did that dual role like that. Like that's really impressive. I like when actors do that, play multiple roles in one film. And if you can't even tell it's the same actor doing all those roles, like that's so incredible to me.
It's funny because they look at her and they go like, oh, I don't know who this is, but she's really good. She's a new face. And yet Mia Goth has actually been a working actress for quite a while now. She's not new to the game, just like Brittany Snow was. She's not new to it. She's been around for quite a bit. She's done a lot, but people really didn't get a chance to see her. She's never opened a movie. So for a lot of people, it's a chance to discover her for the first time.
Yeah,
I think that's part of the fun about being a movie fan and a critic is discovering somebody for the first time.
exactly.
Um,
Because a lot of times
Sophia
I'll get
Lillis.
random movies and I won't know anything about it. Like there's no trailers or anything. I'll get a brief little description, but it's usually a sentence. I'm like, oh, what is this movie? And then that discovery is just so enjoyable.
I think I love the fact that we found it was a big movie, that It movie, but I thought it was amazing because I thought she was a great talent. It's Sophia Lillis who played Beverly Marsh. I thought she was terrific. I thought she was
All those
absolutely
kids
terrific.
are great. Yeah.
Let's see.
I think my favorite from that one though was probably Eddie, the drummer.
Let's see. Why do you think this? Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you this question. Why do you think that comedians make such better dramatic actors than dramatic actors make comedians?
Because they have more to prove. Because
There's,
usually people know them for just their comedy and they want to be taken more seriously than like the average actor. And I feel like they have more on their shoulders and they have more pressure. Because if their dramatic movie doesn't do well, then that's it for their dramatic like movie career path. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to really stick to the same thing all the time. I do think a lot of Jim Carrey's best films aren't even his comedies. It's like uh, who else? Who else? Mike Myers. He does some pretty good dramatic stuff. He had a cameo in Bohemian Rhapsody, and it wasn't funny, but it was still really, really good. Like a lot of these comedians, they want to prove that they're actors more than the average actor that have already kind of proven that they can do the dramatic stuff. And the comedy's hard. A lot of people don't realize
comedy is really hard.
comedy's a lot
They come over, they just
harder
seem to
than
come
the
over and
average.
crush it. They you give them a serious role and they just roll with it. Like Adam Sandler did with Uncut Gems. I mean, I'm not the biggest Adam Sandler fan, though I do love Grown Ups. But he did
Of
a really
course.
nice job. He did a really nice job with Uncut Gems.
Yeah, yeah.
Steve
That's a good one.
Carell.
I also
Steve
like Punch
Carell.
Drunk Love.
I'm just thinking of all the actors I know like that can do dramatic roles and do them really well.
I like Jim
Um,
Carrey and Man Over the Moon, and I like The Majestic. Those aren't really comedies.
no, not at all. Yeah,
I didn't,
Jim Carrey's underrated for that. He can go dark just as well as anybody else.
even the number 23, it wasn't. the best movie per se, but he gave a great performance in it. Like his character was good,
Right. Let's see.
and he had a show on Showtime. I think it was on Showtime. It was called Kidding, and it was a more dramatic show. Like yeah, it had comedy parts, but it wasn't all slapsticky, and it wasn't like your average Jim Carrey. And
Hi
really good.
Brenda. Uh, Hi Brene, how are you? And Mr. Flixter, that's right. Where did you get your name, Mr. Flixter, from?
My brother thought of it for me because we were bouncing different names off each other. I wanted something snappy. I wanted something fun to say because my last name is very hard to pronounce. I wanted something that people wanted to say a lot because it was just so much fun to say. So we came through a few different ideas. At first, we came up with cinematic dramatic, but that was already taken. So I was like,
Okay.
oh, that was so good. And I almost started calling myself Chris Matinee. Get it?
Chris Matinee. Yeah, I
But
get that.
I wanted it to sort of rhyme because I like tongue twisters. And the more I started saying it, the more it just kind of kept, I had that ring to it. So I'm like, Mr. Flixter. Yeah, I can work with that.
It is very catchy.
Thank you.
How's been your time on YouTube? What channels as far as film reviews go, film reviewers, what channels have really impressed you?
Well, I like Zach Cherry. He does very insightful reviews. I like CZ World. I like Sean Chandler Talks About. I like Cody Leach. I watch a lot of YouTube. I like Possessed by Horror. She does really good reviews too. And she does a lot more types of subgenres too. Like she'll talk about any kind of subgenre. Like she'll talk about like ghosts one week, and then she'll talk about like movies from the 2000s. Like she really focuses on that in some of her videos. Like she goes to different time frames and she'll rank stuff like that. She talks about different directors. Possessed by Horror is a really good channel. Um, what else do I watch? What else do I watch? I like Josh Does Movies. I've done collaborations with him. I like Movies and Munchies. I've done a collaboration with him. There's Rachel's Reviews. I've done a video with her. So many people, I just had to reach out to them because I just love the way they appreciate the filmmaking process, especially for Rachel does a lot of animated stuff, and it's hard to find good animation critics because a lot of them don't focus on like the voice acting, and I think voice acting is so important. Voice acting is so underrated. I actually, when I was talking with Brad Dora, the voice of Chucky, when I did my interview with him, he said that he actually preferred to do work in front of the camera because voice acting is so much harder because you can't rely on your face. It's all right here, right? It's all in your voice.
Right.
So he actually prefers to do, like, he likes doing voice acting, don't get me wrong, but he prefers to work in front of the camera. So I thought that was really interesting. But he's right. I'm really sad that there's not like a voice acting category in the Oscars because they really deserve to have their own category. Like, it's so much involved with
I
voice
totally
acting.
agree with that. I think so too. Just like I think that there should be a stunt category for the in the Oscars too.
And yeah, stuntman, yeah, for sure. These people literally risk their lives to make films.
Yeah, Tom Cruise would probably be the first time that he probably win an Oscar there first than he would be for his acting.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Tom Cruise, but I do appreciate that he does his own stunt work. Like, I love the Mission Impossible movies, and I love the new Top Gun. The new Top Gun was so good.
Yeah, yeah, I like the Mission Impossible movies for the most part. I hated the first one, but I like the rest of them. Yeah, but I think what hurts Tom Cruise though, I think what hurts Tom Cruise more than anything else is the fact that he has to be in control all the time, and I
Yeah,
really think that hurts his movies a lot. It's like there's really no director. I mean, it's just a director in name only. Though I do think that Christopher McQuarrie is his equal. You know, if he tells Tom Cruise to do something, then he will do it. But for the most part, that isn't always necessarily the case.
yeah,
That's what really killed the Mummy, that
I,
he did that movie pretty much on his own,
I agree with that.
which is a real damn shame because I really liked the idea of the Dark Universe. I really wanted to go because I thought Russell Crowe was outstanding in that as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I was looking
Yeah,
forward to that, and
that
then
would have been a good movie to see him as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
I was so amped up for that. No, I don't think that helped him either. Yeah, the Scientology bullshit. Yeah, I think that hurt him too. People want to watch his movies, but they don't want to hear him talk. You know, they don't.
Exactly.
They don't. They don't. They, I don't think. I don't think he's a very popular interview. This interview with Tom Cruise. I think a lot of people just tune out. They just don't want to
Yeah,
hear the. They don't want to hear the bullshit.
exactly.
Um, what movies are you looking forward to seeing for the backside of the year? Is there
I'm
any?
curious about Halloween Ends. That's probably my most anticipated for toward the end of the year because I'm really curious how they're gonna wrap up this new Halloween trilogy.
Let me ask you a question as a film critic. Because this is something that I've seen, and I'll ask you since you're a pro. But there's a super fan, right? There's some super fans that are out there, and that's all they do. That's all they do is they talk about the particular movie. Um, do you think that hurts or helps a movie when you're that fanatical about it?
I think it helps because if you can get a person to love your movie that much, that says a lot.
But even though they're talking about the whole damn movie all the way up for it, see, to me, I'm personally, I can't. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of it. I don't. I'm sick about it because all I hear is all that is. And I really, what gets me is the fact that there's not going to be any surprise. I'm watching all these people sitting there, and these are the same. This is the thing. This is what fires me up about this, and this is something Adam Marcus mentioned too. You sit there and you want something new, and you say, "I want something new." Okay, we're going to go out there and give it to you. We're going to come out there and give it to you. Okay, I want to be surprised. I don't want to know every single fucking detail about the movie coming up. I just don't. I don't want to know. People talk about trailers. They show too much of the trailers. And then you got some people, go ahead and next thing you know, they literally will talk the movie that they supposedly love, they talk it into powder. And I feel sorry for them because it's like you're ruining it for yourself. You're ruining this movie that you love. You're ruining it because by the time the movie gets here, you've already known everything. When you go in there, you're going to be watching things you already know. And I think that kind of fanaticism, like I'm going to do a live stream on Halloween Ends from now until it comes out. I think it hurts it.
I see what you're saying, but I have to disagree with you because a lot of these movies now, if they don't have that buzz, then there's no chance that they're gonna see the theaters at all. You know what I mean? Like you're saying with independent
Halloween
films,
Ends,
like people need to focus more. I wish more YouTube channels would focus more on independent films, but
Halloween
unfortunately,
Ends,
the access to it is very limited. So when it comes
Halloween
to
Ends.
bigger budget stuff, like I know you mentioned Scream 6 yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, like
Yeah,
that. I'm actually really excited for Scream 6, and I want to know as much about it, like before I go into it. Like I'm one of those people, like I appreciate stuff like that. I don't think it ruins the movie per se. I think what it does is it gets people excited for it.
I,
And
I,
just
yeah,
because stuff is reported about a movie doesn't mean that uh, you know exactly what it's going to be like in the movie. Like the best example I can think of too is No Way Home. I knew that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were rumored to be in it, but I always thought they were just going to be like a little cameo toward the end of the movie for like the big boss fight toward the end. Like they reported that kind of stuff, and there was those rumors, but I had no idea they were going to be in that much of the film. You know what I mean? Like I think there's still that element of surprise because even though they cover it, there's no way they know everything about movies that haven't been released yet. Like, because even the sources that they get their information from, you don't know how accurate it's going to be. So I think that element of surprise is still there, but it's 50-50. Like, it's not as
I think it's
100% surprise.
I think it's
Some of it's
70-20.
true or it's not true.
I
You
think
know
it's
what I
like
mean? And then when it
I
is
think
true,
it's
you get that
hamburger meat.
satisfaction, like, oh, he was right.
I think it's like hamburger meat. I think it's like 80-20. I think if you go in there and you pound it over and over and over and over and over, there's just not going to be any surprise at all. There really isn't. Uh, it just drains the way. It drains it away. I mean, by the time you get there, you're exhausted for one thing. I mean, that's the bad thing about the internet is like that happens. You can't get away from it necessarily. I mean, I know a lot of people don't want to, like they'll sit there. I've seen some people say, okay, I'm not going to do spoilers for I'm not going to, I don't want any spoilers about the movie. And then 2 days later, they're doing spoilers. It's because well, they've already seen the movie, so they can impose their own little. I'm not going to do spoilers, but 2 days later, they feel like they have to do spoilers to keep up, and then they ruined it for everybody else. There's just no more surprise in movies. I think that's what really hurts it too. There's just no surprise. And as far as creating a buzz, that might work with an independent film. That might work with that. But you're talking a Halloween Ends or Scream 6. Those two movies don't need a fucking buzz.
That's
They
true.
don't need a buzz at all. They don't. In fact, they have too much buzz. There's
That's
there's no,
true. That's true.
there's no room for anything else. There's no room for anything else. Everybody's so focused on those two movies, for example, that no other movies that are around there in the orbit, like Terrifier 2, or even, you think about that. I mean, Terrifier 2, you got that coming out. Any other horror movie, when you watch those two movies get released, there's not going to be any mainstream horror film within 3 or 4 weeks before or after their theatrical date. People are going to clear the decks because these two movies are so big they can't fail. But I
think
just
that's the point. Yeah.
I just feel like they just get pounded. They get pounded. They get overexposed. You don't want the movie.
Exposure is
You
the
don't want your movie
problem.
to
Like
be.
even for Scream 5, they were advertising like the production crew. They're at the Stu Macher house, and that was supposed to be like a big reveal in the movie. So yeah, sometimes they give out too much information. There is such a thing as information oversaturation.
Yeah.
But I still get really excited when I hear about these things. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm sure there's other people that are like me too. I'm just really, really passionate about film. So anything I can learn about it, great. I would love to.
Let's see.
Yes, please, more for me. Just one of
Uh,
those things we have to agree to disagree about. You know what I mean?
let's see. Let's see. Kevin saying, does that mean you're not gonna watch my daily Halloween and Scream 6 live stream from now until those movies are released? Kevin, I see what you did there, Kevin. uh, I'm really excited about Terrifier 2. I think it'll be better than the first one. The buzz equals the fuzz. Kevin.
I'm excited for Pearl, the prequel to X
Kevin's
that's
putting
already been
down.
filmed.
He's picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
No, because to me, it's like, if you have that much, to me, it's if you have that much influence, right? And face it, it may not be all that much, but there are some channels or some outlets that do have some influence, and I do wish that they would actually turn around and share the wealth, so to speak. Like talk about some other movies, talk about some independents, whatever. Talk about Nope. I mean, believe it or not, I've seen the trailers for it, but I haven't gotten the buzz on it as much as I would expect it. I haven't really got that energy like I have for the movie that I think it should. I
No,
mean,
I don't.
Jordan Peele's an amazing director.
I have to disagree with that. I don't like his other two films at all, and I'm not looking forward to Nope. I have no interest in Nope at all.
Doesn't make him
I
a
didn't
bad
like Get
director.
Out. I didn't like
You
Us.
don't have to like the story, but it doesn't take away he's a good director.
Yeah, but even the way he directed it, like I don't see what the buzz behind him is all about. Like even he produced Candyman, the new one, and I didn't like that either. I don't see the hype. I don't know why he's getting
Yeah,
all this attention.
I do think maybe if he had directed that movie instead of just producing it, maybe we have a different Candyman. Maybe we're having a different discussion. That is one thing I do wish. I do wish he would had was more involved in that. I wish he had gotten involved with that because we talked about that. We actually talked about that yesterday.
And it was a mess.
Yeah, that was a bad misfire. But as far as Get Out and Us goes, I mean, yeah, they're freaky. I'm curious. I'm very much curious on how he does it. I mean, he loves horror. I think he's trying to do something fresh and innovative. That's one thing that no one can sit there and complain about that. The movies that he's been bringing, they've all been original. You know what? I'm okay with that. I rather see 3 original movies than 3 fucking remakes of some franchise that's been around for 40 years.
I agree with that too. His ideas are original. It's just the execution of them I thought were poor. I just I
I mean,
wasn't a fan of Get Out. Like I did like the idea of it, and I was interested to see it. But then after I watched it, I was like, oh, why is everyone raving about this? Like, this is what it's all about. Like, really? And same with
well,
Up Two. I'm like, this is what everyone's talking about. Like, why is this movie so popular? Like, I just don't
yeah,
understand.
and yet here we
You
go.
know what I mean? Like,
Here we,
some of the
yeah,
decisions made in those films,
and yet here
I
we
just
got
I just
Halloween,
thought were questionable.
here we got Halloween Kills and Scream 5, right?
I didn't really like Halloween Kills. No, I wasn't a fan of Halloween Kills, but I do appreciate Scream 5 because the more I watch Scream 5, the more I notice things about it that make me love it so much more. Like there's so many little details, and it's such a loving tribute, not just to the Scream movies, but to horror movies in general. And they explain like how requels are both good for movies, but they're kind of a hindrance too, because they take away from the original and they take away from like the history of filmmaking. Because a lot of these horror franchises are huge, right? So you can't just ignore 5, 6 movies. Like that is kind of hurtful toward that franchise. And it's kind of like, well, why'd you even make those movies then if you're not going to acknowledge them now? And that's what I liked about the Chucky TV series. Like it feels like a sequel to all the other movies that came beforehand because it's really trying to include everything from the franchise. And that one is really unique, Child's Play, because it was written by Don Mancini. He's written every single Child's Play movie and even the show up until today. So it's really been his baby. It's been his vision, and he's really just carried it through so far for so long. It's amazing.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of the TV show at all, to tell you the truth. I
That's
thought
cool.
the TV, I thought the TV show really made a lot of misfires.
What?
Um,
I'm curious.
I thought they made the kids way too young, way too young. I thought they should have. If you're going to do that, move them to either being seniors or freshmen in college. But the junior high was just the wrong angle of storytelling to tell. Was very put off by that. Didn't
That's
yeah,
fair.
I didn't yeah, I didn't like that at all. Okay, so asking about Ty West. You like Ty West?
I like Ty West.
Yeah.
X is
Um,
my favorite movie so far this year. For not just horror movie, but like favorite movie so far, like by far. It's so good. It's good at suspense over surprise, and that's what I really look for in a horror movie. Alfred Hitchcock described it best. Suspense is when two people are like having a dinner conversation, right? And there's a bomb underneath the table, but you're watching the timer count down as they're talking before the bomb goes off. Surprise is when two people are at dinner and then all of a sudden the bomb goes off. You know what I mean? Like there's suspense and there's surprise, and that movie is really good at handling that balance.
yeah,
There's
that's
jump
why
scares, but it's not over relying on jump scares. And
yeah,
there's times
there
where
is
things are
yeah,
genuinely creepy, like so creepy. Like you see someone in the background just watching people, and you're
mhm.
focused on the background instead of the characters that are talking. That is good filmmaking, in my opinion.
That is I agree with that.
Or that
I
scene with the crocodile when it's looking down on the lake and she's swimming toward the dock and she doesn't even know the gator's behind her and it's getting closer and closer and closer. And then you get that payoff later on. I won't say too much in case people haven't seen it, but you get really good payoff.
for which movie it was?
X.
Oh,
I'm raving about X. I
oh
love
yeah,
X.
okay, yeah, X, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I
It's
haven't
so
seen it.
good.
I
It's my favorite movie so far this year. Not just horror movie, but like top movie so far this year for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure what so far the top movie is for me. I did like Children of Sin. That would be a top 10 for me. That was
That was
really
good.
good.
Black Phone
Um,
is really good too. Did you see that one?
which one?
Black Phone?
Nope, I haven't seen Black Phone yet.
Oh, it's good.
I know people are talking like Ethan Hawke, like he plays a good villain. He's been a villain a little bit more than people realize. It's not like he's new to to it. He would actually played a really good villain in a role called Phenom. People should check that out. He was really good in that. It was a baseball movie, but it was more than that. And he played a real bastard in it.
Mhm.
Uh, and he also played Born to Be Blue about Chet Baker. That was really good too. He didn't play a very nice guy in that as well. Uh, okay, I tell you what, we got time for one more question before I let you go, and we're going to take it from John Horton. John Horton wants to know what your feelings are on the Cobra Kai series.
I haven't seen it, so I don't have an opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me ask you this one. Um, which Karate Kid is your favorite? The first,
The original.
huh?
The original.
The
I love the
original.
first one. It's so good.
Yeah, I see. Now that's probably one of the few times where I actually thought that the remake was better than the original.
Really. Even though
Yeah.
it's not technically karate. He's
Uh,
like, that always bothered me. They learn kung fu. It should be called the Kung Fu Kid.
yeah. I
Because kung
actually,
fu and karate are
I actually thought,
very different forms of martial arts.
yeah, I really thought I thought the remake was way better than the original. Just like
I
Dawn
like
of
it.
the Dead. I thought the Dawn of the Dead
Oh,
2004 was better than the original.
yes, that I do agree with. I love the remake of Dawn of the Dead. That's one of my go-tos, like one of my comfort movies. I've seen the movie so much. It's so good. It's one of those ones that never gets old.
No, such beautiful acting in that movie.
Oh yeah, especially in the
The,
beginning with that little girl. Oh my God. That's one of the most impactful horror movie scenes like I've seen in so long.
yeah, it's like that was probably one of the first movies I saw that really truly said it showed that kids were no longer safe. Because then movies that's one of the things, one of the taboos. You don't show kids getting killed, and they said, well, screw that. So here you go.
That's what I like
Yeah,
about the new It movies too. Like they're not afraid to go there. Even with that first scene with Georgie and he gets his arm torn off and stuff like that. That's when I knew this was going to be a very different kind of movie because the kids weren't safe.
right.
Because that really
Uh,
kills suspension of disbelief when people survive situations just because the plot demands it. I hate that. That's one of my biggest pet peeves in films. Plot armor.
Yeah, they've just gotten away from that. There's nothing more taboo. See, Kevin's mentioning Kevin Hawk was the villain in Reality Bites, but that's just
Yep.
my opinion. I heard that too. See, Kevin says, I have to disagree with you guys on Dawn of the Dead remake. I love the original Dawn of the Dead. Oh, I do too. It was the first time I ever
I
saw
love
them.
it.
It's the first time I ever saw anybody get sick at a theater. There was two people that got sick. They're running up the aisle and they're puking. So I
It's
love that
hilarious.
movie for that. Um, but I think as far as the remake goes, what really makes it stand out is the acting. I mean, there's that was a very well written movie.
Hmm.
Uh, really great characters in it. I mean, yeah, it's just it blows the first one away. It blows it away. It's the
I
best.
agree
It's
with
the
that.
best. It's the best dead movie of. Now I still have not seen the 1990 remake, so I can't say 100%. But it's my favorite dead movie so far.
You're not really missing much. It's okay, but yeah, I have to agree. It's my favorite Dead movie so far. And a lot of people look down on remakes, but I think remakes are kind of important for the industry because it helps revitalize life into these older franchises that this generation might not be aware of. Like people born in 2000 might not know about movies from the 70s, for example. So this is a good way to open the door and pique their interest for that. A lot of people that
Mhm.
watch like Halloween 2018 probably haven't seen the original if they were born in the 2000s. You know what I mean? So it's a good way to introduce the younger generation to the stuff that the older generation grew up on. You know what I mean? Like I'm not
Right.
100% against remakes. Like some of them I don't think should be remade, like Psycho. Some of them should just be
No,
left
no, you
alone.
don't remake. No, no, you don't need a remake Psycho. Like there's some that work though. I mean, there are some
There are
that
some that
work.
work.
Like I know a lot of people hated the Nightmare on Elm Street. I get that. I understand why there's a hate for that movie.
Oh, I hate that movie so much.
I just want to take Jackie Earl Haley and just take him out of that movie and then flush it. Um, but um, but I thought the Jason the Friday the 13th remake. I actually thought it was halfway decent. I actually enjoyed that very much.
I enjoy
Um,
it. I just thought they were doing too much for one film. They combined like the
yeah,
first four movies.
yeah, they're trying too hard.
Yeah, they're trying
Um,
too hard. I think if they would have separated it and did like two or three, kind of spaced it out a
but
little bit to give characters room to grow, they would have been a little bit better.
I
But
think
it's not a bad film. I
I
like that
think
one more than I did the
yeah,
Nightmare remake.
that's what happened. The pressure was on them to have big box office. They had to have a big hit. They couldn't afford to come out there and have Midland reviews and Midland box office. They had to come out and they had to swing for the fences right off the bat.
I think I
Uh,
have a problem with Silver Dunes. I don't think Michael Bay is a good horror producer. I think he should stick to more action type movies. Horror is not really his forte. Like you need a certain mindset and a certain like eye for horror. You know what I mean? Like Wes Craven was the kind of director that could do horror and a lot of other stuff too outside of horror. But he had that keen eye and that keen sense. Same with John Carpenter. He does a lot of stuff outside of the horror world, but he has that keen eye. He knows how to build suspense.
I thought Marcus Nispo, I thought he showed a really fine eye for horror. First, he did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then he came back around and did the Halloween, and that was pretty good considering that he too had he too came from an action background. You know, I knew him from his action movies. I have one of them called Pathfinder,
Oh, okay.
and but I was really surprised and impressed with how well he did with Texas Chainsaw and Friday the 13th. Let's see. Rick is saying nobody even likes 78 Halloween. Yeah, that's right, Rick. Tell it, brother. Hop says he saw a girl pass out, got carried out on a stretcher on the opening night of The Devil's Rejects.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
the film was not paused. Yeah, I hadn't seen anybody pass out or get sick at a theater since the Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, has there ever been a movie that I'm sorry, I'm keeping you. I got time for one more.
I got time. Yeah, it's great. No problem. Never,
Uh,
no rush.
uh, have you ever seen a movie that you've walked out of that you just said, "Oh hell no"?
I try to finish movies all the way through. I don't really do that because I think you can't really judge a movie until you've seen it, until you've seen all of it. So if you're not really happy with how things are going, I think you should at least try to stick it out. You might not
No,
be satisfied with how it ends, but at least you'll know how it ends.
I
Because
just I just
how can you really judge a movie unless you've seen the whole picture? You know what I mean? Like I
that's
try
there.
not to do that. Even though I don't like it, I might I might like play with the idea, but I've never actually left the theater before. No, no, I always try to stick it out.
Yeah, I think as a critic, as a professional film reviewer, yes, you have an obligation for that. But since I'm not a professional, I have no problem at all turning it off. I have no. I try to watch one movie that got sent to me, and I try to watch it twice. I said the first time it was like, oh brother. I said, okay, let me give it another shot. Let me give it another shot. I turned it on there. I didn't make it. I didn't make it either. I don't think I made it more than 15 minutes. It was
Really.
just unwatchable for me. I just couldn't
Oh,
do it.
I've
I'm not
never
gonna sit
actually
there,
experienced that. That's funny.
yeah, I'm not gonna sit there and waste 2 hours watching a movie I already know in 20 minutes is DOA. That's just no. Um,
There's a lot of
Hot
Netflix movies
Take
that are bad for
Halloween
that, eh?
3.
Like they're just you can tell they're gonna be a bad movie, but sometimes it's just fun to watch it just to laugh at it.
I couldn't even laugh at it. That's the thing is, you're right. I mean, this movie was even on the surface, you would think it'd just be an absolutely riot. It's like, oh, you just have so much fun, making fun of it. But there's just not. It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. It was just horrible. It was just terrible. I'm no snob. I don't think anybody here is a snob at all. But man, there's limitations though. A man's got to know his limitations.
Very true. But no, I've never actually
Uh,
left out of a theater. Even on streaming services, I try to stick it out. I'm all about giving people a chance, giving movies a chance. Because people, no matter how bad a movie is, people don't realize how much work is involved to making movies. Like we're lucky that as many movies come out as they do. So I'm just grateful for whatever movie comes across my way.
Good. I'll have to send you the one I got then. You can review that and see if you survive. All right. All right. Before we get out of here, let me, because I didn't do this beforehand, I want to thank the chat, and I'd like to thank Chris for hanging out with us. You don't feel so nervous now, I see.
No,
You're
no, no.
comfortable. You're comfortable
I
now.
calm down.
Yeah, I saw that. Uh, 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 I want to thank everybody in the chat for rolling out and supporting this interview. Um, Unfortunately, our guest for tomorrow had some obligations come up, and so we had to move that. We had to move that down to the 26th. So our show will be dark tomorrow night. We won't have it tomorrow night. We'll have it on the 26th. Um, I don't know what I'll be doing tomorrow. I'll figure it out. But I will tell you who we got coming up. We got Travis and Madison White. They're a husband and wife team. They run Wet Denim Productions. They'll be here on the 7th. On the 10th, on the Midnight Society, we're heading over to Al's channel for the Clash of Titans. It's the year 1959, the Battle of 59. It's the Bat versus the giant Gila monster. We're going to watch both those movies and show us our comments, and then you guys can pick out which movie you think is more fun.
I love watching
I'm
older
gonna go. You know what? I had the Gila Monster, but I gotta tell you, the Bat is freaking hilarious. The Bat is bat crazy.
I love watching older movies from the 50s just to see how they did special effects with the miniatures and the claymation. It's so cool how they pull that stuff off before they
Oh,
could
it
just
is.
throw it into a computer. You know what I mean? Because nowadays there's no heart and soul to a lot of these films. Back then
No,
you could really tell the work and the heart and the soul that put into all these practical effects.
yeah, and you're right. I mean, every effect now is, you can always tell the effects. You can always tell where they are. On the
That movie
11th.
magic is gone now.
On the 11th of July, we have actor John Armiel Jr. will be here with us, and he has been in some blockbuster movies such as Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, G.I. Joe Retaliation. He has done a lot of big films, and we will talk about working on those films. He'll be here on the 11th. On the 12th, we have the most lovely Devaney Penn will be here. She is one of my favorite screen queens, and she'll be here talking about her career. She has done the movies called The Dawn, and she did Crossbreed, and she's done a ton of movies.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, me too. They're one of my favorite couples for sure. I've known her and her husband Brandon for a long time, and they're very, very nice people, and looking forward to talking to her. On the 13th, we have two shows. We have also another film critic. We have a film critic and also a filmmaker. Tom Joloffe will be here with us on the 13th. That'll be at 2 p.m. And then at 8 p.m., we're talking with actress Danny Inks, our favorite ginger. She should trademark that because that's how everybody describes her, as their favorite ginger. So she'll be here on the 13th at 8 p.m. And then on the 14th of the month, we are welcoming in. I really do hope that she's able to make it. I'm praying. Gory from Gory B Movie will be here with us. So she'll be here with us on the 14th, and that will have a 9 o'clock start.
Her channel is so good. I forgot to mention her before, but that's another channel I watch. Someone asked me that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yep. They're getting ready to kick off their battle royale next Sunday.
I'm excited for that.
I can't wait for that. Old do vampire. Okay. And then the last one that I'll tell you about is the 17th. That's the start of Polonia Week. So we're doing a collaboration with Miss Boomstick and Steven from the House of Horrors, and we're talking about all things Bark Polonia, and that'll be a lot of fun too. That's gonna start on the 16th. We're going over to the House of Horrors on the 16th, Saturday the 16th, and then we're coming back to Al's channel on the 17th to have and Christy and Stephen will come and visit us, and then we're doing all things Polonia. Hey Cal, how are you, sir? Al the car throwing up the bats. That's right. The bat and the kaiju just arrived. That's right. Remember, Space Gaius is a bat. That's right. So don't forget that. Thank you again, Chris, for coming in on short notice. I really do appreciate that. And we will see you guys on Thursday for Wet Dinner Productions. That's it. Let me drop Chris's link down real quick.
I just want to say thank you for inviting me. I think it's so cool that a fan of my channel actually reached out and wanted me to have on their channel. So I really do appreciate that. You're the first one that has asked me to do that. So, and it's nice to actually meet you. Like, I know I've been following you and your channel for a while now, but we've never actually talked before. You know what I mean?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna have to have you more. I'm gonna try to squeeze you on a little bit more too. So
I know we were supposed to do one before, and I totally missed it. Because
no, I'm gonna try to get you on some more because I definitely, yeah. Why not? You know what? We're here to help each other out. So you know what? You can come on and hang out with us. And
exactly.
Yep. So by all means.
I'd love to have you on my channel too sometime too. Like we can swap.
Yeah, more than happy to do it. We got an overnight bag ready to go, and we haven't been to Canada in a minute or two, so we're ready to go.
Next.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for coming out and for the show, and I appreciate it. And we will talk at you soon. Have a great night, everybody. Peace. Stay right where you're at, Chris.
I'm from Megapolis, Canada. You can follow me on Facebook, but like I said, be very careful with that because I was hacked. But I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter, and of course YouTube. Just look for Mr. Flixter.
That's right, Mr. Flixter.
Oh, and I post my reviews on Medium. I almost forgot to mention that.
Oh, on Medium?
Yes.
Yeah.